The mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about one of the most mysterious legends on our planet, a mystery that has fascinated people, scientists, researchers, and lovers of the supernatural for more than 1,000 years. We are talking about the legendary creature that is said to live deep in the waters of Loch Ness. People call it the Loch Ness Monster, or simply Nessie. But is this creature real? Who first told the story about it? Which scientists tried to prove its existence? And why, after hundreds of years, is the mystery still unsolved? Today we will dive into a real historical investigation. The lake where the legend began. Our story begins in Scotland, in the northern part of the United Kingdom. This is where the huge and mysterious lake called Loch Ness is located. The lake is about 37 kilometers long, and its depth reaches more than 230 meters. But what makes this lake unusual is the water. It is almost black. Because of the peat from the surrounding land, the water in the lake becomes very dark. This makes visibility extremely poor. Even modern cameras and sonar equipment often struggle to see what is happening deep below the surface. And it is here that people have claimed for centuries that a mysterious creature lives beneath the water. But where did this story actually come from? The first recorded sighting, the year 565. The very first written mention of the creature is connected to an Irish monk named Saint Columba. According to ancient writings, in 565 AD, Columba was traveling through Scotland. One day he reached a river that connects to Loch Ness. There he saw something strange. Local people were burying a man. They said the man had been killed by a water monster. At that moment, another person decided to swim across the river. Suddenly, a huge creature rose from the water. According to the legend, Columba raised his hand and commanded the monster to stop, and the creature disappeared back into the water. This became the first known description of a creature connected to Loch Ness. At that time, no one thought about dinosaurs. People simply believed it was a mysterious water beast. Legends through the centuries. After that story, reports of strange creatures appeared only occasionally. Sometimes fishermen talked about unusual waves. Sometimes shepherds claimed they saw dark shapes moving in the water. But there was never any real evidence. Many people believed these stories were simply part of Scottish folklore. In Celtic legends, water spirits and mysterious lake creatures appear quite often. For centuries, the story of the Loch Ness Monster remained nothing more than a legend. But everything changed in the 20th century. 1933, the beginning of a global sensation. In 1933, a new road was built near Loch Ness. For the first time, people could easily observe the surface of the lake. And that is when something happened that changed the story forever. A couple was driving along the road beside the lake. Suddenly, they saw a huge animal moving in the water. They described it as something that looked like a dragon or a prehistoric creature. Their story appeared in a local newspaper. On May 2, 1933, the article was published and that moment created the modern legend of Nessie. Soon newspapers around the world were writing about the monster of Loch Ness. Hundreds of people began visiting the lake, and many claimed that they had seen the mysterious creature as well. The most famous photograph. In 1934, something happened that made the legend even more famous. A British doctor named Robert Kenneth Wilson claimed he had taken a photograph of the creature. The image showed a long neck rising from the water. The photo quickly became famous around the world. It was later known as the surgeon's photograph. Some scientists even suggested the creature might be a prehistoric marine reptile known as a plesiosaur. These animals lived in the oceans during the time of the dinosaurs. But there was a problem. Plesiosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago. Still, the photograph convinced many people that the monster was real. When the truth was revealed, decades later, a surprising truth finally came out. In 1994, it was revealed that the famous photograph was actually a hoax. The monster in the picture was a small model attached to a toy submarine. It had all been a prank. Many people were disappointed. But the fascination with Nessie did not disappear. Scientists began investigating. Even after the hoax was revealed, scientists continued to study the lake seriously. One of them was biologist Roy Mackal. In the 1960s, he joined a research group investigating Loch Ness. The organization was called the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau. Scientists used sonar technology, underwater cameras, observation stations. Their goal was to find proof of a large unknown animal, but the results were disappointing. No monster was discovered. The DNA study. In 2018, scientists tried a completely new method. They began studying environmental DNA in the lake's water. When animals live in water, they leave traces behind. Skin cells, scales, biological particles. By analyzing these traces, scientists can determine which animals live in the lake. Researchers collected hundreds of water samples from Loch Ness, but they did not find DNA from any large prehistoric reptiles. However, they did find large amounts of DNA from eels. The giant eel theory. Because of this discovery, a new theory appeared. Some scientists believe that people may have seen very large eels. Normally, eels grow to about 1 meter in length. But in rare cases, they can grow much larger. If a large eel rises to the surface, it might look like a long neck emerging from the water. Today, this is considered one of the most realistic explanations. Why people still see the monster? But if the monster may not exist, why do people still report sightings? There are several possible explanations. Boat waves can create unusual shapes on the water. Floating logs can look like the back of a large animal. Seals sometimes swim into the lake. Large eels may appear near the surface. And sometimes, simple optical illusions can fool the human eye. But imagination can turn something ordinary into a mysterious monster. Does Nessie really exist? Today, most scientists believe that the Loch Ness Monster probably does not exist. There are several reasons. The lake is too small to support a population of giant animals. No bones or remains have ever been found. Sonar searches have never detected a large, unknown creature. However, it is impossible to prove with absolute certainty that the monster does not exist. So the mystery remains open. Why the legend still lives. Even without solid evidence, the legend of Nessie continues. Every year, thousands of tourists visit Loch Ness, hoping to see something unusual in the dark waters. From time to time, new photos or reports appear, and each time, the world asks the same question. What if? Conclusion. The story of the Loch Ness Monster is a fascinating mix of legends, science, mystery, and human imagination. It began more than 1,500 years ago with the story of a monk. In the 20th century, it became a worldwide sensation. Scientists have studied the lake for decades, but the final answer still remains unknown. Maybe there really is an unknown creature hiding in the depths. Or maybe it is simply one of the most beautiful mysteries on Earth. And perhaps that is why people still stare at the dark waters of Loch Ness, hoping that one day they might see something that changes history.